But I guess first of all, we should congratulate Vanessa and Joseph. Deadstream launched on Shudder yesterday. I mean, literally, my Twitter feed is just Deadstream is amazing. So, how are you guys feeling about that?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, we're feeling great about it. The response has been so overwhelmingly positive that I think I was expecting that once it released, kind of like its official release outside of the festival circuit, that we would start getting some more negativity. But it's actually been really positive, and we feel really, really stoked about it.
Yeah.
Cool. And we're here to discuss VHS 1999. The previous film was 94. Why did we decide on 99 for this one?
I think just because we had so much fun in 94. It felt as though there were some things that we weren't able to do at the time in 94. And we kind of wanted to keep it in the same decade and just kind of continue in the overall spirit of what we thought the fans appreciated about 94. For us, I think it's like, 99 was the year of like the Blair Witch Project, Woodstock 99, horrible new metal bands. That's just me. That's just me trashing new metal bands. That has nothing to do with why we.
You guys are very traumatized.
Yes.
99.
Yeah, it was just a year that felt right. Turn of the century, fear of the future. Obviously Y2K. Trust me, we thought about just about every single year. I think we were like, yo, why can't we bring this back to medieval times? And then, then you're like, oh, well, no, let's just do 99 instead.
And then how, when you're collecting together your filmmakers, where do you start? How do you gather everybody in?
That's a good question. We do have a spreadsheet that we keep. I mean, between the production team, David Bruckner, the Radio Silence guys, Brad Misko, who runs Bloody Disgusting, myself. We have a lot of friendships and just relationships within the community. So there's a lot of people that we've always wanted to work with. And I think a big part of VHS for us too is just the discovery aspect as well. So just talking about Deadstream, we hadn't even seen Deadstream until I think we already had 3 or 4 filmmakers that we had hired to come aboard the project, and Sam Zimmerman and Shudder showed us Deadstream, and we were like, oh my god, like we have to have them. Like it's an absolute no-brainer. So yeah, there's a bit of a process, and it's kind of it's scattered, it's all over the place, but I think just kind of comes from the gut for us. And obviously we go in and we ask for treatments and we have conversations with the filmmakers, and found footage isn't as easy as a lot of people think it is. And we just always want to make sure that the filmmakers that are coming on board just understand the process, and we feel as though they have the vision to do it right.
Yes, I mean, that sort of leads me on to my next question. As filmmakers, how much freedom are you given in terms of your story? Are you given any brief, a specific brief to do, like, we want this story to be like this, or is it more free flowing?
Yeah, well, for me, it was usually, I mean, from what I understand, you kind of, there's usually some sort of like overarching, like idea or theme, like, with 1999, like, that brings with it a lot of different, like you mentioned, the anxiety and kind of, and so I started kind of brainstorming different ideas that might kind of fit with that year specifically. And then kind of, we started a meeting where you kind of pitch out different versions of it, and then you kind of chase down the ones that seemed like more promising. And so like I was really attracted to like the themes of like, like reality TV was starting to, like in there, like the internet was starting, and there was a lot of like people watching going on and things like that was showing up in a lot of movies like American Pie and American Beauty, and like, there's a lot of like people watching people in the suburbs, and so I kind of sort of try to drill into that a little bit and kind of find it like a horror story that was playing with those sorts of themes. And then I think I presented that as well as 3 or 4 other ideas to Josh, and then we sort of settled on one. And then ours was kind of like, other than it being kind of playing by the rules of like found footage, you're given a lot of creative leeway. Ours was a little bit trickier because we had to try and do it as like a bit more of a rap story, but most of the segments are kind of contained, within themselves. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I feel like in some ways maybe you had the most restriction because you were kind of wrapping things together.
Well, I mean, it was sort of like when by the time I actually sit down and cut the feature, it was really the only one that could change. But like which is good and bad, but whatever. It's all, it worked out.
Yeah, we had a lot of freedom. I think for us, we were trying to think of what we could possibly add to such a legendary franchise. And so we were shooting pretty like out there with our concepts, and Josh seemed to approve. And then just was like, okay.
Yeah, Josh asked us to pitch a couple of ideas, but he said, ultimately, we want you to make the one that you're the most passionate about. So tell us which one you're excited about. And it actually just so happened to be the one we were the most stoked about. He was really attached to instantly when he read about it. So that's kind of how we ended up where we were. But along the way, I mean, we had, I feel like we were really supported and just had a lot of freedom to make our vision come to the screen with, full support behind us.
Yeah. And I love the look. There's a very specific location to Hell and Back, and to me it kind of looks like an old school metal album artwork. Was there anything that was there anything in particular that sort of inspired the landscape that your characters are trapped within?
We've always been a fan of these medieval paintings by Bosch. And they're just really bizarre and terrifying and almost a little bit funny, but they always take place in kind of an otherworldly landscape. And I think that's one thing Joseph and I were thinking about as the only segment that was filming in Utah, is just what could Utah bring with it, like what inherent value does it? And I think unusual landscapes was one. So from that point, we just went searching for the most hellish landscape we could find.
Which happens to be Utah.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great creature effects in both segments. So what was it like? I mean, especially coming from Deadstream, which I imagine was a much more intimate, lower budget production, and Tragedy Girls, there's no weird creatures in that. How was getting to play?
Only psychologically.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I don't know. Like we had most things that I've done have had some pretty heavy like effects component. So and a lot of those processes are quite similar. Like you're working with artists that kind of work in those like 3-dimension kind of old school techniques. And like our character was very much like a combination where we had like a practical version of it and then did some like VFX augmentation. But like there's a real like person in a real suit that takes 7 hours to apply, and so you do as much of it practically as you can, and then kind of do the things that are impossible to do practically, digitally. And so it's been a bit. This is very much a balance. Whereas like I think a lot of like horror fans specifically love like a lot of like the practical blood stuff, and trying to do like as many kills and things like that as you can, practically like real heads and real fake heads and those sorts of elements. But at the end of the day, sometimes you have to like actually, you got to make your day work. And sometimes those things, they take a lot of time, but sometimes they don't go as planned. And so there's often some sort of cleanup or balance, and you're taking something that's 90% real and adding that 10% that you might need.
Yeah, shout out to production insurance. Like we destroyed floors and walls, and there was so much blood, but that is true. My favorite being a home in Bel Air that one of our stunt guys threw somebody through and laughed about it as if it was okay. I mean, internally I love chaos, so I laugh too, but as a producer, you don't want to see that anyway.
I also love the term real fake heads.
Right.
I feel like that's only in horror. Yeah, you want to talk about creatures?
What was the name?
I'm trying to think of like a question to answer.
What was the name of your effects person? Like, because you guys use somebody like who was?
Yeah, so we our effects guy is Troy Larson, and is a guy that we found in Utah way before Deadstream. and we used him for a short. He did this amazing work out of his garage, and we've just hung on to him ever since. So he's the same person that did the creature design and Deadstream. And we just wanted to like run with that momentum. It's actually like almost exactly the same team that we used on Deadstream. And we just like, we told him the concept, he let his imagination go wild, and like things that he thought would be really hellish, like a lot of body horror kind of stuff about if you were in hell for thousands of years, maybe a person will start to turn into a demon, or like their wings would come from like their back, kind of like their skeleton kind of pulling apart, and it would look really painful. And so he just started coming up with some really cool ideas that I didn't know if we could pull off in that short of a turnaround, but he did, and some of them look pretty amazing.
Yeah, but if it looks like there's a guy crouching up on a cliff, there really is a guy crouching up on a cliff, and man, that guy had strong quads.
Oh,
So it was a few hours.
yeah, we got some really good stunt people for that.
Real guy, real cliff, real quads.
Real
Yeah.
quads.
Real
strong
dude.
quads.
Yeah.
And it definitely all pays off. I mean, that is, that segment especially, there's so much going on. It's definitely going to encourage repeat viewing. There's lightning, there's little flashes of little things. It's really, you've really enriched the environment, and I think people are going to have a blast seeing that. I mean, for me, Mabel might be this year's Ratma. I know that 94, Ratma sort of like came through, but I think Mabel, there's just something about her that is just great.
I'm so glad that worked for you.
Yeah, Melanie Stone's just really captivating on screen. She's so fun.
Yeah, also a Deadstream person that we have pulled onto other projects and will continue to do so forever, probably.
Yeah, it was reminded me of, I can't remember the name of the character, but the little creature from Legend in the line delivery. The Tim Curry's devil's little henchman. It kind of reminded me a bit.
We actually
That's a compliment.
Yeah, because Legend is one of my favorite movies, and we actually referenced a lot of imagery from Legend and some tone and like how they talk. And is this too much for a VHS segment? And so that's cool you brought that up. Yeah,
like I say, it's like as soon as you started talking, I was like, that's like in Legend. And we can't sort of talk about the about the film and you not mention the year 99, New Year's Eve 99. That was my birthday. I think I was 16 that year. It's such a big date for anybody that is old enough to remember it, because we were on the precipice of the apocalypse. Did that come with a bit more pressure to make sure that segment was right? Because everybody remembers, I think, well, to some degree, to some point of the night where they were on New Year's Eve 99.
So your birthday is on
New Year's Eve
on December 31st?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, my mum was not a fan of that.
Yeah, that is kind of weird having a birthday on Y2K. That's crazy.
Yeah, for me, it was interesting. So I come from a really, really small town in Utah, and there were adjoining towns that there were a lot of I guess Y2K preppers, where they believed that Jesus was going to come to a certain field, and it was kind of this thing where we were like kind of making fun of this thing that was happening nearby in this gathering. And so like my memory of Y2K was that version where people were really thinking not just that the power would go out or whatever, but that actually Christ was going to come and like the actual world would end. And so I think that fueled a lot of what we were trying to do with like making it like a small community.
Well, it's just like so much imagination. Like I was playing Spin the Bottle, and I just remember like we're playing this game, and at the same time I'm like, are all the banks gonna crash? Happen,
Yeah, it was a great
Jesus
time.
killing people on a cornfield on 99. It's kind of like a segment I need to see now. We might need to do a sequel.
And the film is releasing just in time for Halloween. It's the perfect sort of film to watch with a load of friends in a big Halloween party. But what to you guys is that perfect setting? Who are we with? What are we eating? What are we drinking? What's the perfect environment to watch this film with?
Oh my God, that's a loaded question. I don't know, maybe somewhere in like a sewer with mealworms.
with
Okay.
Gretna.
Yeah. Just I don't know, just have a beer where it's legal, smoke a joint. Biden just made it okay, so. Am I supposed to say that? Should we cut
Right.
that? We're
Okay.
cool. Yeah, look, these movies are made to it's hard for me. I need to separate myself from it, right? Like I've never like invited over a bunch of friends to my house to be like, yo, come watch my movie. I feel like that would be a total like asshole move. But you know,
We've done that.
I'm sorry. And there goes our friendship.
You see, he didn't get an invite to the.
Right. Yeah, I think it's we make these movies because they're a lot of fun to make, and we want people to enjoy them as much as we make them. So I think it's the environment where you can have as much fun as you possibly can have, whether that's by yourself or with a bunch of friends or on an airplane or I don't know why you would watch it. I would watch
You're
it.
saying you're pitching like watch it on your phone on an
Right.
airplane after Halloween, like just like with other shit going on in the background. Like that's really what
It's
the ideal,
it's what I'm saying is
all the lights are on.
the
just
perfect
stop and start it.
Yom Kippur movie. Is it Yom Kippur? Yes. I'm Jewish and I can say it right.
Nice. Well, I'm going to wish you guys the best of luck with the release, and I know that it's going to like break all the Shudder records like the last one did. So I wish you guys the best of luck.
Let's go. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thanks.
Nice
Thank
talking
you.
to you.
Nice to meet you.
Yes.